Isaiah chapter 59, verses 15 through 21. Truth is lacking, and he who departs from evil makes himself a prey. The Lord saw it, and it displeased him that there was no justice. He saw that there was no man, and wondered that there was no one to intercede. Then his own arm brought him salvation, and his righteousness upheld him. He put on righteousness as a breastplate, and a helmet of salvation on his head. He put on garments of vengeance for clothing, and wrapped himself in zeal as a cloak. According to their deeds, so will he repay wrath to his adversaries, repayment to his enemies. To the coastlands he will render repayment. So they shall fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. For he will come like a rushing stream, which the wind of the Lord drives. And a Redeemer will come to Zion, to those in Jacob who turn from transgression, declares the Lord. And as for me, this is my covenant with them, says the Lord. My spirit that is upon you and my words that I have put in your mouth shall not depart out of your mouth, or out of the mouth of your offspring, or out of the mouth of your children's offspring, says the Lord, from this time forth and forevermore, says the word of the Lord. All right, you can go ahead and be seated. Oh, man. I cannot believe I'm back up here. I hate technology. There we go. All right. So, Rob talked a little bit about it. I am really, really excited to be back up here. This is the first time that I'm up here without actually being a pastor here. So, for those of you that don't know, I became a pastor here January 5th, 2020. It was the quickest 3 months of my life before the whole world shut down, and then I had to go show up at these kids' houses. They don't know who I am, and I'm sitting here knocking on the door, trying to get in, trying to say hi. And so you got this random guy showing up at your door. You've never seen him before, and you're like, who is this guy? So you know what I did? I'd stay outside. I'll tell jokes. I'll try to dance. Anything to get them outside their house, because they're not going to let me in. They don't know who I am. So that's how it started here at Orlando North. Then fast forward to April of this year, and that was my last Sunday, which was Easter Sunday. Now, I will tell you that that was probably one of the hardest decisions that I had to make, to actually leave Orlando North. January of this year, I got an email from Crew, and they said, "Hey, we really think that you would like this position that we have just for you." And I ignored it. I told Bethany about it. I said, I got an interesting email from Crew, didn't think anything of it. And Bethany said, you should probably pray about it. Now, I've been married long enough to know that when your wife says something like that, that you should probably listen. And so I prayed about it. I prayed some more, and I prayed some more. By February of this year, I felt like we should take this opportunity, and it was really, really hard. Like, God, you're asking me to leave Orlando North? So I do what I always do. I said, you know what, God, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go talk to Pastor Rob about it, and then let's see what he has to say about it. Because I was like, this is my way out. I'm not going anywhere. He's not letting me leave. Are you kidding me? I'm the best Ohio State fan he knows. And so I go and talk to Rob, and he didn't stop me from leaving. He prayed for me. He prayed for me. We cried. I cried some more. I went home and cried. Like, God, what are you doing? So April was my last Sunday. Now, the reason I tell you this story is because all of this has to do with something that happened back in 2014. So in 2014, I'm in Indiana. We are at Bethany's parents' house. They're not my in-laws yet. We're just dating. I don't remember what the pastor was preaching, but I know it was Sunday because we're all around having lunch. After lunch, I am bothered. I am so upset, and I'm angry at God, and I don't know why, and I just don't know how to get it out. So what do? I go outside on their deck, and I start praying. I'm talking about I'm fussing, I'm crying. I probably said a couple of words I can't say on stage, but me and God were having it out. I'm like, God, how dare you? I am so angry right now. I am sitting here, it's 2014. I'm at a dead-end job. My business has failed. I've already had a failed marriage. I've been a college dropout twice. Side note, I reached out to my high school this week to find out what my GPA was. Now, to graduate high school has to be a 2.0. I didn't have a 2.0. So I told my kids that I had a 1.9 GPA. That's incorrect. So I got the paper, I had a 1.63 GPA from high school. That's awful. They just wanted me out of there. I know why they wanted me out of there. So they just wanted me out of there. So they signed the paper so I wouldn't come back. So, but it was 1.6. And all of these things are going through my mind. I'm like, God, I've been serving you since I was 16, and yet I have all of these things that I don't know what to do. I don't know what's going on. God, I feel like I'm a failure, but I also feel like you have failed me. God, where are you? God, you say you love me, but I don't feel like you love me. God, you say that you hear my prayers, but I don't feel like you hear my prayers. God, you say that you see me, but I don't feel like you see me. 2014 was probably one of the most darkest moments in my life. God, it's all your fault. I would be doing so much better if I didn't do it your way. What do you do when all hope is lost? Where do you run to? Is there a place you can go? Is there someone you can talk to? Is there someone you can call? When all hope is lost, where do you go? So here's the truth. We are all intrinsically wired for hope. We all want hope. What is hope? So hope is two things. It is both an anchor and a vision. Think about it. When you put your hope in something, you're hoping that they give you something in return. That thing or that person is going to give you something in return. So there's your anchor. But then you hope for a future, for a possibility with that thing. Some people put their hopes in a marriage. Some people put their hopes in a job. Some people put their hopes in friends because they hope that it's going to get them something that they're looking for. That is the duality of hope. It's both an anchor and a vision. So what is it about hope that drives us crazy? You see, as people, we always search for hope. When you wake up in the morning, you hope you're going to have a good day. If you're old, you hope your back doesn't go out. You are hoping for something. And this is what the children of Israel are doing at this moment. They're hoping for something. They're looking and they're coming back, and it's Isaiah chapter 59. So they're here and they're like, God, we are back here. Before we get to Isaiah 59, the children of Israel are going through all of these things. They're dealing with some kings. They've been escorted. They were escorted from the land. They haven't been back in a long time. And so they were thinking, if we could just return back to Jerusalem, it would be okay. If we could get back home, it's going to be all right. And so they show up back to Jerusalem. And when they show up, all the walls are desolated. The government is gone. There's violence in the streets. So when they get to what they thought they put their hope in, if we get back to Jerusalem, it's going to be okay. But when they show up, it's not. And they are angry. They've been complaining, saying, God, you left us. God, we've come back to this place and you're not here. God, where are you? They've been complaining for chapters and chapters and chapters. Finally, in Isaiah 59, God is going to answer them. Now, it's a scary thing when God actually answers you. So in Isaiah chapter 59 and verse 1, this is what it says. Behold, the Lord's hand is not shortened, that it cannot save, or his ear dull, that it cannot hear. God, through the prophet, is answering their complaints. He said, oh, you thought that I couldn't reach you? He said, my hands are not short. My ears are not dull. I can hear it. I can see it. I have been here. I know that you're back home, and I know everything is messed up. I know that you're looking for hope. I know that you thought that if you returned back to this place, it was going to be okay. I knew that you thought if you got that job, it was going to fix everything. I knew that you thought if you found that person, that it was going to fix what you thought was broken inside of you. But when you finally get there, It's not. So these people are upset. They've been hoping for years and years and years, praying, begging, fasting. If we could just get back home. If we could just get back home. See, it's very tempting to question God when everything is going wrong. Isn't it? God, where are you? You said that if I would just follow you, God, that everything would work out, which he doesn't say. God, if I would just pray more, then maybe you would answer me. God, if I fasted more, maybe you would have shown up. God, where are you? So God is talking to them, and what he is telling them at the very beginning, saying, your hope is misplaced. Your hope is misplaced. You can place your hope in anything that you want, but at the end of the day, when it comes time to put pressure on it, that is never going to last. So God said, you put your hope in returning back to Jerusalem, but when you get there, it's going to fail you. Why? Because it's not what you need to place your hope in. And the first part of Isaiah, God is saying, no, you've got this all wrong. I let you return to Jerusalem. I let you go through those things. I let you experience that. Why? Because those are signs of his grace. Some people call it his uncomfortable grace. God in his grace is going to let you return back to what you thought was going to satisfy you. He was going to let you return back to what you thought was going to be your foundation. He was going to let you get that job because you thought it was going to work out for you. He was going to let you marry that person because you thought that was what you're going to need. And so when you come to the end of yourself, he's saying, no, that's not it. So where is your hope? Where is your hope? Maybe you thought it would be the new spouse. Maybe you thought if you moved to a different state. Maybe you thought if you cheered for a different team. But maybe. But what I'm saying is what matters where you place your hope. And the truth is we often misplace our hope. We put our hope in things that can never come through for us. And so God is letting them know, I've seen it, I've heard it, I let you have what you wanted, but when it fails, you want to come and you want to blame me. You're going to put the blame on me when you were hoping in something else. You didn't even hope in me. You didn't even come and ask me about it. You just thought if you made it to this place that it was going to be different. You just thought if it looked different, then God was like, no, that's not it. He'll let you come to the end of yourself. Whatever you place your hope in, he'll let you hope and hope in that. But when it fails, because it is going to fail. When it fails, where are you going to go? This is what he's asking the children of Israel. You've put your hope in something that cannot last. And so now that it failed, where are you going to go? That's just verse 1. God is not done. He's answering the entire chapter of 59. That's just verse 1. And God said, oh, I got so much more for you. The second thing he wants to talk to them about, not just their misplaced hope, he wants to talk about what the real problem is. He's going to tell them what the real problem is. And here's what God says in verse 2. He says, but your iniquities have made a separation between you and your God, and your sins have hidden his face from you, so that he does not hear. And verse 3 through 8, he goes on to describe what that real problem is. He said, no, I'm not the problem, but let me tell you what the real problem is. It's you. You are the problem. Now, I hate to admit this, but I don't often like to think that I am the problem. Not at all. Bethany's laughing. No, I don't want to look that way. I don't like to admit that I'm the problem. I would love to think that the problems are outside of me, that it's somebody else's fault, that it's the situation's fault, that it's the people that can't drive an I-4, it's something else, but it is not me. I'm not the problem. God, I'm not the problem. Look, they're doing this, but they're doing that. God, it is not me. It is somebody else's fault. So there I was, putting the blame of where I was at on God. God, it's not my fault that I'm here. It's your fault. You're the one to blame, God. It is your fault. Isn't it easy to place the blame on somebody else? Because it absolves us of our responsibilities. It's easy to do that because then we don't have any responsibility for it. We can blame it on somebody else. Oh, it's not my fault. The reason my marriage failed is it's not my fault. It's not my fault at all. It's the other person's fault. The reason that I've been changed jobs 15 times is not my fault. I always end up with the wrong boss or the wrong manager. The reason I've been to 5 or 6 different churches is not my fault. It's the pastor's fault. Do you know how he's preaching? Do you know what they're singing? It's not my fault. And so God's like, okay, no, but it is your fault. And do you know why it's your fault? Because there is something inside of you that is intrinsically looking for hope, and for whatever reason, we always place our hope in the wrong thing. You know, there is no such thing as a bad marriage. Because at the end of the day, you have 2 people in that marriage. The marriage itself wasn't bad. It's the people in the marriage doing something bad in it. This is going to be a rough one to say. The government in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's the people in the government that make it a bad thing. The government is mutually, I got that written down. It's mutually neutral. I thought I had that. So it's mutually neutral. So it means the problem is not the organization itself. It's the people inside the organization. And yet we want to put the blame on everyone else or everywhere else except where it needs to be. And this is what God is telling them. He said, at the end of the day, the problem is you. You can't find hope by running to someone else. You can't find hope by going somewhere else. You can't vote in hope. You're not going to be able to vote the right person in the government. It's not going to happen because if you put your hope there, at the end of the day, they're going to fail you. And why are they going to fail you? Because at the end of the day, it is us that is the problem. We're in the government. That's why we're causing the problem. We're in the marriage. That's why we're causing the problem. You cannot outrun yourself. And I hate to tell you this, but you are the problem. There's no matter where you go, you are always going to be there. And this is what God is saying to the children of Israel. You thought that you were going to be able to outrun your problems by returning back home. You thought that it was going to be different when you got back there, but it's not different because you're not different. You are not different. And you're never going to be able to find your hope when you're looking for it inside of yourself or outside of yourself. If you're trying to find your hope in anything else but Jesus, then you're going to misplace that hope and it is going to fail you. Now, there is something that lurks inside of me that I have to deal with on a daily basis. And I hate to admit it, especially with my son sitting here. But that thing is sin. Something that we all have to deal with, something that we all have to struggle with. And unfortunately, it drives my behavior. I hate that sometimes I do those things that I don't want to do. And then the things I really, really want to do, I make excuses for. Sometimes I know I need to get up and go to the gym. I don't want to. Sometimes I know I need to go and tell my wife that she was right. I don't want to do that either. Sometimes I know that I need to come up here at Thursday morning prayer, but I'm like, God, it's so early. I know the things I need to do, but for whatever reason, it's so hard to do those things. And so God was talking to them. I know why it's hard for you. I know why you can't get to where you're trying to get to. And there's 3 things in here that he talks about. He talks about the word iniquity, transgression, and sin. So iniquity means moral uncleanness. Moral uncleanness. I would love to sit here and tell you that I am a very moral person. That all of my motives are pure. All of my thoughts are pure. I just walk on air. I would love to say that. But then I'd be lying to you. Because unfortunately, there is something in me that is unclean. Morally unclean. And I can't get away from it. I can't run from it. No matter how hard I try, I can't do it. Now, the second word is transgression. Now, transgression is rebellion. For whatever reason, there is something in me sometimes that I just want to rebel, even though I know it's the right thing. I don't want to do the right thing. Transgression. So I don't want to do the right thing. It's like if you cheat on your taxes, I know the right thing to do with my taxes, but I don't want to do the right thing. It's like if you cheat on your wife, I know that I shouldn't do it, but I'm going to rebel against what I know to do. I am transgressing something. And then sin, you're missing the mark. The children of Israel are sitting there and they're complaining to God, and God has had enough. He says, you've complained enough. I'm not the problem. You are the problem. I'm not the issue. You are the issue. And at the end of the day, you cannot outrun yourself. So where do you go for hope? Where do you go for hope? So the children of Israel come to the end of themselves. They're like, God, we don't know what to do. So in chapter 59, verses 9 through 11, it says this. Therefore, justice is far from us, and righteousness does not overtake us. We hope for light and behold darkness, and for brightness, but we walk in gloom. We grope for the wall like the blind. We grope like those who have no eyes. We stumble at noon, as in the twilight, among those in full vigor. We are like dead men. We all growl like bears. We moan and moan like doves. We hope for justice, but there is none. For salvation, but it is far from us. They're saying we have completely lost our way. So after God tells them, no, you are the problem. I've been here, I've listened, but you've misplaced your hope. You've put it in something else. They turn around, they're like, God, we are the problem. You are right. We've transgressed your law. We've done wrong. So what do we do to fix this? What do you do when you've lost your way? Because we've all been there. And if you haven't, keep on living, because I promise you are going to find yourself in that place one day or another. So what do you do when you've lost your way? The children of Israel, they repented. They were like, God, we are wrong. You're right. You've been here. You've seen us. You've heard us. But for whatever reason, we've put our hope in something that's not going to last. And God, we need your help. God, we need your help. The only way we really get to hope is when we become completely hopeless. When we discover that there's no other place or no other person or nowhere we can run to find hope. When we actually become hopeless, that gives us the opportunity to really find out where we need to place our hope. And this is why hopelessness is the doorway to hope. That's why God will allow you to try out that marriage. Okay, they'll save you, sure. And then you wonder why it's not working out. Oh, you think it's the job? Sure. And then you wonder why 6 months later you want to quit. Oh, you think it's a new state? Oh, go ahead and leave. Move. But then you have the same problems. You think another church is going to fix it? But it's not. God will allow you to run until you can't run anymore. And that's where they're at. God, we can't run anymore. Thank God that he allows us for those hopeless moments. Because without those hopeless moments, we might keep running. We might keep running, and sooner or later, we're going to realize that we've run so far, so hard, and so long that we don't even know where we're at. We've lost our way. We don't know who we are. And we don't know how to find our way back. Because we're constantly running, constantly chasing after that hope. And we constantly misplace it and put it in places that it shouldn't be. This is the backdrop of the Christmas story. God, in his infinite wisdom, decided to send his son at this particular moment in this particular time because they've lost their way. It is all darkness, and they don't know where to go. They don't know where to turn, and God said, do you know what? I got this. I got this. So when you lose your hope, when you don't know what to do, when you don't know where to turn, there's only one place to go. And that's what he's telling them. There's only one place to go. And it's me. I'm the only place where you should put your hope. So this Christmas story, gotta take this off. That's better. All right, so this Christmas story, when you're looking for hope, when you don't know where to turn, when you don't know where to go, God is saying, it is me. It's me. I'm the one that you're looking for. I'm the one that you need to put your hope in. I'm the one that you've been searching for this entire time. Yes, you've come to the end of yourself. Yes, you can't find out which way to go. I know that you're lost, so stop running. I know that it's dark, so stop running. You don't know how to get there. You don't know where you're at, but I do. My arms are not short. My ear is not dull. I know exactly where you are. So why are you running from the one person that can give you hope? Why are you running from the one that can give you exactly what you're looking for? Why are you trying something that's never going to work? You've tried it. You're on your fourth or fifth marriage. You're at your sixth or seventh job. And he's like, what are you doing? You've tried this already. Why do you keep running? So this is what God decided. He said, you know what? I'm not going to be able to find anyone that's going to be able to help deliver hope here, no matter where I look. There's only one way for me to do this. I'm going to look at it in verses 15, the second half. It says, the Lord saw it, and it displeased him that there was no justice. He saw that there was no man and wondered that there was no one to intercede. Saying God looked around. He said, you know, they can't put their hope in the people to the left of them. They can't put the hope to the people to the right of them. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to send my son. They can put their hope in him. Why can you put your hope in him? Because he is my son. I'm sending him coming from heaven down to earth. He's going to live a sinless life. He's going to work this thing out. He's going to walk it out with you. He's going to show you how it's done. At the end of the day, when you realize you can't do it, all you have to do is put your hope in him. That's the whole Christmas story. It's a story of hope. And at the end of the day, when we realize that nothing else is going to work, you can try it, it's not going to work. No amount of money, no amount of relationships, no amount of possessions, it's not going to work. People have their lives filled with all of those things, and yet they cannot find peace. Why? Because they're still looking for that thing. That's why they continually chase it. That's why people that have billions of dollars are still chasing after that same dollar. Why? Because they're looking for that hope. That's why that person has been dating around with all these people that continues to do it. Why? Because they're still looking for that hope. They need to feel something. They need to find it, but they can't find it because they're all looking in the wrong place. And we are right now where we are in America, but this place where it seems like it's dark. It seems like everything's going wrong. We got wars going on everywhere. We got marriages crumbling. We got all these things going on in the economy because we've all been looking for hope, but we can't find it because we put our hope in a politician, or we put our hope in a billionaire, or we put our hope somewhere else. And what God is saying, he said, no, do you not remember the Christmas story when everything was dark, when all hope was lost? That's when I came. That's when I showed up. So stop looking for it somewhere else. Turn to me. I wasn't going to share this part of my story. 2014, I'm sitting on that deck, and for a brief moment, I thought that it would have been better for me to die that day than it would to continue. Here I am. I believed in God. I loved God. But I felt hopeless. And after I done cried all that I could cry, snot everywhere, I'm sure my father was like, that guy's nuts. He can't come back here. Because if you looked out back, I'm swinging, I'm kicking, I'm screaming. I'm like, what in the world is going on with this guy? I'm exhausted. I sit down at the stairs of the deck, and God spoke to me. And it's not like an audible voice, but I felt this overcoming presence. It was like, I've been waiting for you to get here. I've been waiting for you to stop running. You see, I was running for so long that I thought that I was chasing God, but I was chasing so many other things. I thought that I would find it in school, but I dropped out twice. Overachiever. Thought I would find it in a relationship, it failed. Thought I would find it in jobs, it didn't work. And God said, look in the mirror. You've been putting your hope in your own talents and your own abilities. You thought that you could make it happen on your own. You thought that you were able to do this. You said that you had it. You took my hands off. You're the one that took control of it. And now when you're at the end of it, you want to put the blame on me. That's hard to hear. That is hard to hear. And I wonder right now if I'm the only person in this room that's done that. I have a feeling that there's some people in here right now that are in that same exact spot, where it all seems dark, it all seems lost. You don't know what to do, you don't know where to turn, but you, for some reason, feel in your heart that it's got to be God's fault. It's got to be somebody else's fault. It's the reason that I am here for somebody else. It's not my fault, God. I didn't do it, God. I didn't end up here by myself. And God is saying, yes, you did. You put your hope in you. You put your hope in other people. You put your hope in other things. But what you should have done is put your hope in me. So stop, take a moment, and look in the mirror. So this Christmas morning, if you want hope this Christmas, the thing that you need to do is to place your hope in the one that can fulfill that hope, that need that you have. And that the only person that can do that is Jesus. You can try anything else. People have tried it. It's not going to work. Because he is the only one that is steadfast. He's the only one that is a firm foundation. So I'm sitting there and I'm praying and I cried. I'm like, God, you know what? You're right. You're right. It is my fault. I tried to do all of these things in my own strength, thinking that I could do it, thought that I was doing right. At least I convinced myself that I was. But when the pressure was on, it came to find out that it was me. I was trusting in me. I was saying that I trusted God, but I really didn't do it. Because whenever the going got tough, you know what I did? I said, you know what? I'll handle it. I'll take care of it. I didn't even pray about it. I got it. I'll do it. There's no reason. I don't want to bother God. I can do it. And then all of that pressure, all of that weight started to crumble. And God said, I'm waiting for you. And I know right now he's waiting for some of you in this room. I know that you're tired. I know that it's hard. I know that you don't know where to go. But you're in the right place at the right time. God specializes in the hopeless. I mean, if he can do what he has done for me, then I don't think there's anything he cannot do. Now, when I repented in 2014, nothing changed that day. I was still at that dead-end job. I still was trying to get healed from a divorce. I was still trying to figure these things out. But something was different. Once I realized that my hope needs to be placed in Jesus, what changed was that I didn't feel like I had to carry that weight by myself anymore. That was 10 years ago. I'm married with 4 kids. I'm working on my doctorate, which is crazy. I can't wait to go back to high school to tell them. But all of these things. But it didn't start that way. It didn't start that way. I had to come to the end of myself and realize that I can't do it. So I don't know who you are this morning. But I can tell you one thing. And it's the same thing that Jesus said once that day of Christmas, the day of his birth. It says, hope is here. And hope is here for you this morning. So stop running. Stop looking for hope in someone or something else. Place your hope in the one that can support that. Nothing else can. When we realize that we can't do it, when we realize that we are not the answer to our prayers, then we start to understand what God really means when he sent his son to be God with us. God with us. You see, God, when it was all dark, didn't stand outside and say, you know what? They can have it. He said, you know what? I'll send somebody else to do it. God himself said, I know that it's dark, so you know what I'm going to do? I am going to go down, and I am going to carry them. I'm going to show them the way. I am going to do this. God with us. That's an amazing claim. That the God that created everything, the God of heaven and earth, the first and the last, the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, thought enough of you, thought enough of me, not to send somebody else, but to send himself. God with us. So if you're looking for hope this morning, maybe it's hope that, you know what, I need to find out who this Jesus is. Or maybe you realize that you've placed your hope in the wrong things this morning. I can guarantee you that before you leave this place, if you place your hope in him, then you'll be able to understand that hope is here. God with us. Let me pray. God, I thank you for today. The fact that you are God with us. The fact, God, that you didn't leave us to our own devices, that you didn't leave us to ourselves, but God, that you said, you know what? I am going to come down in the form of a baby. I'm going to live a sinless life. I'm going to go to the cross, carrying their sins, their transgressions, their iniquities. I'm going to willingly give my life for these people. Because if you didn't do it, God, we would be lost. So this morning, God, I pray for hope. For some, it's going to be hope restored. For some, it should be hope found for the first time in you. God, we thank you for the first Christmas, the day of your birth. When you declared to the world that hope is here. When you declare to the world that you are with us, that God with us. So this morning, God, I pray that you would be with us. In your name we pray. Amen.